One. Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Kim Havens. I'm the event manager here at An Unlikely Story. I'm so honored to be hosting this event tonight with Adam Rubin, hosted by Jeff Kinney. We're all here to celebrate the release of The Ice Cream Machine, Adam's middle grade debut with 6 wildly different stories, all with the exact same name, about my favorite food. Anybody else? Is it your favorite food? Love ice cream. Before we get started, I have a couple of tech pointers. If you lose your connection or your video, just exit out of your browser, jump right back in, or refresh your page. We'll have a Q&A towards the end of the event, so you can answer your questions in the Ask a Question box at the bottom of your screen. And you can also upvote questions, so the most popular ones float to the top. Click on the green button in the center bottom of your screen to purchase Adam's books, and Adam has kindly signed book plates for everyone who purchases Ice Cream Machine from us. Again, as we are just so excited to welcome Adam Rubin to An Unlikely Story virtually, as we've hosted in our event space secret pizza parties, the taco-loving dragon itself, who loves to dance, we discovered, and in 2019, he was here to read his picture book, High Five. He's also the New York Times bestselling author of Those Darn Squirrels trilogy, Gladys the Magic Chicken, Robo Sauce, and El Chupacabras, which is written in a blend of Spanish and English. And it also won the Texas Bluebonnet Award, and all the proceeds go to the Hispanic Federation. I love that. Aside from writing, he enjoys hiking, optical illusions, and magic tricks. He has a big magic trick on his wall, so you'll have to ask him about that. Tonight, Adam is going to tell us all about The Ice Cream Machine, Tales from the Multiverse, Volume 1, just released this last Tuesday, that Jeff Kinney describes as 3 scoops of humor with adventure on top. There are 6 exciting stories, all with the same name as I said, and they're illustrated by 6 different illustrators featuring robots, dragons, squirrels, and chickens. Not really. You'll have to read them to find out, or you can ask in the question box. Hosting this very cool event tonight is the one and only Jeff Kinney, the #1 New York Times bestselling author of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series and Diary of an Awesome Friendly Kid series, as well as the owner of this magical bookstore and Unlikely Story here in Plainville, Massachusetts. So now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome Jeff Kinney and Adam Rubin. Yay!
Thank you. Kim, thank you so much. And Adam, it's so great to see you again. We had the pleasure of hosting you a while back, pre-pandemic, in our store. And you were touring for High Five, which is a great picture book. And I remember saying to Kim, while you were giving your presentation, I was like, this guy's a star. Like, let's keep an eye on him because this guy's a star. Congratulations on all your successes. Most people know you from Dragons Love Tacos and High Five, books like that. This is your first big book, as you put it at the end of the book. Tell us what made you decide to take this leap.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all, Jeff. I'm a huge fan, and I'm a huge fan of Unlikely Story, which was far and away the coolest place I've ever done a book presentation. It really feels like a comedy club if you've never been there. It's like a little theater that's just for books, and I can't wait to come back.
Thank you.
But this is the next best thing, given the circumstances. And so thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And your question was, why did I write a book that's like 20 times longer than any book I've ever done before? And the answer is, I've been writing picture books for like 10 years. The first one came out in 2008, and I had a day job most of that time. So it wasn't until maybe 2015 or so that I really started visiting schools and going around and meeting hundreds of kids at a time. And what was surprising to me was that when you walk out, and you know this, but when you walk out into a gymnasium with 500 kids in it, the principal just introduces you and hands you the microphone. Like, they don't tell you what to say. Nobody tells you this is what you're supposed to say to these kids, or it gives you any advice about what you're supposed to. So over time, I kind of figured out that the reason I was there and what I was trying to say to these kids is that reading is fun. And my books are fun. We're going to have some fun while I'm there. We can read together and it will be fun. So reading is fun. I can prove it. Go out there and read as much as you can, which was a cool message to share with kids. But eventually it started to feel kind of passive and a little self-serving. Like, reading is fun. Keep reading. Buy my books.
Right.
So I wanted to try to help kids understand and help introduce young readers to the thing that excites me most about books, which is writing. Because for me, writing the story is the most magical part. The idea of taking something from your imagination, putting it on the paper, sharing it with a stranger is kind of miraculous.
Yeah.
So that was what inspired me to try to write something longer, is to say, look, reading is fun, yes, but writing is magic, and let me prove it to you.
Yeah, and I love your introduction. I'm getting ready to give a big speech at the University of Maryland. I have to do the commencement speech, and I was thinking of just like literally lifting your introduction without any attribution whatsoever.
Permission granted.
But you talk about how writing is magic. Give an example of that. I love your example of the time travel in Mom's pocket.
Yeah. So if you want a fun little experiment to prove to yourself that writing is magic, because what you can do in writing is you basically become timeless. You can live forever. Like Lao Tzu said, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with just a single step. But he's been dead for thousands of years, and still we're talking about him. So he's like become immortal through writing. He's traveled into the future. So you can do a little bit of the same thing. And what you do is you take a piece of paper, write, "I love you, Mom," on that paper, sign it. Maybe you draw a little picture, fold it up. When your mom's not looking, drop it into her coat pocket, and then just wait. Now that's the hardest part. You can't say anything. You got to wait. It might happen next year when it gets cold again, or it might happen the next day, depending on how you plan your coat loading. But when your mom in the future opens up her pocket or reaches into her pocket and pulls out that note, you will be right there with her. It will be like you traveled into the future to give your mom this burst of joy and love through the magic of writing.
I love it. In your acknowledgments at the end of the book, you say that you were a weird little kid, and you said you thank your mom and dad for indulging this weird little kid. What made you a weird little kid?
So I think when I was really young, I was just like sort of into strange things. I loved like anything to do with like spaceships, and then I would build all these spaceship Legos and break them down again and build them back up again. And at some point I got into magic tricks, and my parents would like drive me to Connecticut to have brunch with this guy that would teach me card tricks, because he was just like this retired guy that was so nice to spend the time. And I got into rocketry. I was into making little videos. I would make videos. Man, if there was YouTube when I was a kid, there would be so much blackmail material on YouTube now. I'm so glad there was no streaming back then. But it was writing that kind of let me embrace that weirdness and gave me the power to feel like I could do anything that I wanted. I remember my 6th grade teacher was the first one that gave me the invitation to say, write whatever you want. No, not a book report, not a journal entry, not an opinion paper, just make up a story. Make up whatever you want, and whatever you want to write about, that will be good. That will be the story that you get to make.
That's really interesting. In 5th grade, I had this teacher named Mrs. Norton, and she was probably about 65 years old, kind of a matronly kind of presentation. I think she may have been British, and she she honed in on the fact that I was trying to get good at comedy, right? And she really challenged me. And I remember I was getting praise from a lot of people for my comedy, but also for my drawing. And she would always take a look at my drawings and say, you could do this a little bit better. And I was sort of rattled by it, right? Because I was like, everybody else is just giving me praise, my parents,
right,
and grandparents. And I remember one time we were doing a skit, setting up a skit for this like ridiculous talent show act. And she came into the room and she just said, it's important to know the difference between laughing at and laughing with. And then she just walked away. And of course, I remember that to this day. And it really is important, those moments when your teachers recognize your talent and then encourage you to push it a little bit further. So I'm glad you had that kind of teacher. Yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's funny how those memories stick with you. And kind of what could have seemed inconsequential at the time, and it just winds up the thing that sticks in your head and the thing that you kind of look back upon as this formative moment.
Yeah, it can really change you. So you say that writing is magic. Something else that's magic is ice cream. What is it about ice cream? Like, as soon as I heard the title of your book, it put a smile on your face. What is it about ice cream?
Gosh, I was talking with Kim about this before we got started. Have you ever had bad ice cream?
I think I actually have.
Really? How did that happen? It seems so difficult to accomplish that.
We would have cheap ice cream, the kind of ice cream that makes you run to the bathroom, 20 minutes later. So,
well,
there is
the worst ice cream I've ever had was freeze burned ice cream. And it was got all the salt, the ice crystals and stuff. But it's rare to get bad ice cream at a place outside of your house. And I have this theory that no ice cream parlor or ice cream stand has less than 4 stars on Yelp, because it's cold, it's sweet, it's delicious, it's handheld. What more could you want from a treat?
Right. And your favorite flavor of all time?
Ooh, the best I ever had was with my friend Daniel Salmeri. We were up like in upstate New York somewhere. It was a chocolate chip ice cream, but they had this is an idea that I don't know why this hasn't been done everywhere. They squeezed a little bit of raspberry jam into the bottom of the cone. Oh. So you ate the ice cream, and then at the very last bite, you had this little like raspberry burst.
Huh, that's cool.
It was very innovative.
Now, here is a story you might not have known about from an unlikely story, is that we have floorboards that are from a factory in Dorchester, Massachusetts, that the last thing that factory made was Nutty Buddy ice cream novelties. You remember those?
It was Nutty Buddy? I don't think so.
It's like a cone and then some sort of very frozen solid vanilla topped with frozen chocolate fudge and then nuts on top.
And you would peel off a flat top and then sort of peel around the bottom?
Yes, that's it. Okay. Yeah. So we have ice cream floors here at an Unlikely Story. Now,
that's pretty cool.
You've lived in different places around the world, and so you've had lots of different types of ice cream. And your favorite, who do you think makes ice cream the best at every country you visit?
I think it's probably the Italians.
Yeah, I think
the Italians maybe have the best ice cream. It's gelato, I think they call it.
Yeah.
But America's got pretty good ice cream, I got to say.
I agree.
The European ice cream is a little different. It's like kind of lighter, but there's this one place I remember, and this is not that uncommon in Italy, and I wrote about it in the book. There's a scene that's directly inspired by this. Some places you would go, they have these big flat spoons, and when they put the ice cream into the cone, it looks like a flower.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're eating a flower of ice cream, which makes it even better than regular ice cream.
That's really cool. So tell us about the concept of this book. So it's six wildly different stories, and I have to say they really are wildly different. You wouldn't even know it's the same author. Tell us why you wanted to write this story in this way, this book.
Well, the most common question I get asked, and I'm curious if you get this a lot too, but people always say to me, "Where do you get your ideas from?" Mm-hmm.
Yep,
that's the most common question.
Yeah,
and what I think they're really asking is, how can I get ideas?
Right. Yeah.
Which is fine. Because my answer is just that ideas come all the time. There's the idea is just an excuse to get started with the story. So I figure, why not give them an excuse to get started? For me, I always start with the title. I don't know if that's how you write your stories, but for me, I always start with the title. And so I thought the ice cream machine, this would make a great story. Maybe it could make way more than just one story, because any idea could spin off into infinite possibilities. And so my hope is I say, all right, I'm going to write a story called The Ice Cream Machine. Actually, I'm going to write 6 totally different stories from the same title, The Ice Cream Machine. Maybe you could write a story titled The Ice Cream Machine. It would be different from all of mine, because I could never write the story that you're going to write. You're the only one with your unique imagination in your head. And since you've already got the title and I've already done it 6 times, like, how hard could it be? Right. That's my hope. It will encourage people to give, so young readers especially, to give story writing a try. And I really do want them to give it a shot. I've put together a series. Well, in the back of the book, there's like some suggestions, some tips on maybe how to write a story. Yeah. And if that's not enough, if you go to the website in the book, I've made a series of like 18 videos.
Oh, wow.
walk you through the process of writing a story. It's just the way I do it. Everybody does it different, but maybe if it's your first time or you haven't done it that many times, it might help to follow along. And if people do write stories, if kids write stories about the ice cream machine, I want to read them. So I put my address in the book for them to send me whatever they write. And if they don't have an envelope to send it to me, I also hid an envelope underneath the dust jacket of the book. You can unwrap the
that's
book.
so cool. I love it.
And it's already got my address on it. So you can send it to me. All you got to do is add a stamp and a little bit of tape, and you wrap your story in there. So
that's really cool.
I'm hoping I get a bunch of responses. If I get enough good ones, then I'll put the best of them in the paperback edition of the ice cream machine.
I love it. I love that idea. And, these really are very different stories. And in fact, I would never have guessed the same person wrote them all. So that speaks a lot to your talent. There are also 6 different illustration styles.
Yeah.
Let's get this going here.
Yeah.
So here's one of the illustrations. This is a girl named Rhonda. Yeah, we're going to flip around. There's one right here. Okay, here we go. This is a kind of a futuristic world.
Yeah.
You say that words, words make your ideas real. It kind of manifests them, right? Like when you saw the drawings, illustrations to your stories start to come in, did it make your own stories become more real to you?
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to be able to collaborate. You're doing both sides of it. You're doing all the hard work, right? You write the words and draw the pictures. But for me, when I make a book with pictures in it, I get to collaborate with an artist. And in this case, I got to collaborate with 6 different artists. And when you do that, you get a whole new perspective on the things that you wrote because they bring their own talent and their own imagination to it. So if you have trust for the person you're collaborating with, and this can be true if you're working with a friend, even when you both work on it together, it turns out better than you ever could have done by yourself, either one of you. And that's like a thrill to get to see somebody so great at drawing illustrate your words and give it this whole other depth and bring it to life in a way you couldn't even picture.
Yeah, I agree. And your first story, I feel like you're sort of strapping yourself to a rocket ship or whatever this thing is right here. This fan-driven boat, because the story is so wild right out of the gate. It's about Kelly and Shiro, and Kelly is a robot and Shiro is a kid. The story kind of reminded me of a dream, the way that a dream goes all over the place and you never know what's going to happen next. I was wondering, is that how you write? Do you just let it go, or do you write an outline and then try to kind of hit the beats of that outline?
I do these kind of broad picture outlines. I should show you one.
Yeah.
So this is like one of the outlines.
Oh, wow. Wow, okay. That's really cool.
And this is kind of the first level. This is these are from the book. This is the story with the wizard.
Wow.
The sorcerer's assistant. This is the one. Look, this is the one you're talking about, Shiro and Kelly. Look, there's the hot air balloon. There's the kendama.
Yeah.
There's Shiro riding on Kelly's back. There's some gelato maybe, or a snake. There's some snake nunchucks at one point.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I think for this first book, I was really thinking a lot about visuals and how to kind of have these exciting visuals throughout the story. But I do like to, the first time I wrote the book, I didn't make enough of an outline, and I was just so focused on trying to get the words out that I was too focused on the end goal. And when I read the story, I had to do the whole thing over again. I had to start over again because it was just such a mess. It took so long. It was heartbreaking. So my best advice for anybody that wants to write a story is make a little plan before you start. It doesn't have to be the most detailed plan, depending on what you feel comfortable with, but make a little plan because it will help save time.
I'm still trying to figure out how to tell a story, and I've done it all different ways. And my new way is really weird. It's that I do this thing called ring writing, which is I start with a one sentence story, right? So if it's Big Shot, which was my latest book, I'd say, okay, Greg tries out for the basketball team, makes the worst basketball team, and then something happens at the end. Then I write a 2-story version, a 2-sentence version, then 4, then 16, and I just keep going. And I'm finding that it really works because it makes you think to that next level while it keeps testing whether or not the integrity of the story is good. So I've only done that once, but I liked that. It's a really different way to do it for me.
I saw Kurt Vonnegut give this lecture about story writing, and he said there was basically 6 shapes of stories. Have you seen this?
No.
So this is what he said. This is Kurt Vonnegut's idea, not mine.
Yeah.
But he says there's basically 6 different kinds of stories.
Yeah.
The rise,
yeah,
where things like kind of start okay, but then they get better towards the end of the story. It's a rags to riches story.
Yeah.
There's the fall, which is things start all right, and then they just kind of go bad at the end of the story. There's the rabbit in a hole, which is things start okay, then there's a problem, we got to find a way out of it. This is a lot of like action movies, a lot of sitcoms do this every week. They just so they start back kind of in the same place, but you got to get out of it. Icarus story is the opposite, where you start off not so good, then you build those wings made of wax, you're having a great time, but you fly too close to the sun and they melt and you fall back down. This is the story that Vonnegut says is the most popular story in the world. This is across mythology, across the world, popular culture.
Yeah.
We know it as the Cinderella story.
Yeah.
Things start off not so good, right? Sweeping up after the stepsisters, but then you meet your fairy godmother, go to the ball, but then the clock strikes midnight, things go back down again, you're back where you started. Maybe you're never going to see your prince again, but he's determined, finds the glass slipper, and then everybody lives happily ever after. Yeah. Rocky's like this, like most really emotionally charged stories where you're rooting for that hero follow this kind of a pattern. And the opposite of that is the twist ending, which is just the inverse, like a Black Mirror or a Twilight Zone sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. That's really cool. I've learned something from you today. That's for sure.
The reason there's 6 stories in the ice cream machine is I wanted to write one of each of these stories.
I got you. And it's not just writing those types of stories. They're different genres. You have sci-fi,
different genres, yeah. Different
Wait,
genres, different characters, different settings, yeah.
And if you had to only write, if your editor said, "Hey, you work best in this genre," which would be your favorite to write in?
I think I like sci-fi.
Yeah,
I think I like sci-fi.
Yeah.
There's kind of 2 sci-fi stories in the book. There's the one that's in the jungle and stuff that's with a robot.
Yep.
And then there's the one that's actually in space.
Yeah.
Where the main character is on a space station or a space laboratory with 356 different kinds of aliens.
Yeah, that's really funny. And I wanted to get to that one. I'm really interested in this story. You've got this kind of, he's a human kid, but he's in this almost like a zoo, right?
Yeah,
it's
pretty much.
Or a prison or something. It's a little bit different. I was wondering, is there ever a time in your life, when I was thinking about him going into the cafeteria and feeling kind of small, feeling like he's different from everybody else, was there ever a time in your life when you found yourself in that kind of a situation where you felt like you didn't belong there and you needed to change to fit in?
Yeah, I think I felt that way a lot in middle school. Mm-hmm. Middle school is a tough time.
Yeah.
And I was a late bloomer. Like I was not full size until freshman year of college. So I was always on the small side. I had glasses. I wore a lot of Tasmanian Devil t-shirts. I don't know what that says about me, but that was my fashion style back then. And I remember thinking a lot, like just feeling much smaller than everybody else and feeling a little bit like I needed to talk to people. I needed to make them laugh in order to kind of express myself. I wasn't good in the situation where I couldn't say much, or it was loud, or I didn't know anybody there. I would always be kind of in the back making fun of everybody else with my friends, and that's where I felt most comfortable.
That's hilarious. Now, Phil, he's missing home, right? He was taken out of New Jersey by kind of a beam. And he is given this opportunity, and his ice cream machine, his kind of box can kind of bring anything from home into that box. And he chooses, of course, ice cream.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, and it makes him feel connected to home, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, you've lived overseas. When I first met you, I think you were living in Barcelona.
Yep.
Was there anything you really missed when you were there that would have kind of brought you back to the United States, that would made you feel like you're at home?
Yeah. For me, it was roast chicken, just a very simple roast chicken, which it was possible to find. They do have that there, but there's something about like making a roast chicken with just salt and pepper that reminds me of home.
Yeah.
The other thing that was really hard to find in Spain was peanut butter.
Yeah. Okay. Really, in Spain, it's hard to find peanut butter. That's interesting.
I don't know why.
Hey, I showed you a picture of Rhonda, who's an inventor. And I really like Rhonda. She's a different kind of character. And she has a little bit of trouble. Like the hardest thing for her is reading other people's emotions. It's like, it's complicated for her. It's hard for her to puzzle that out. I was wondering, is there anybody in real life, and you don't have to name names if you don't want, I'm just wondering, was she inspired by anybody that, that's in the public eye, or is she an invention of, from whole cloth?
Well, when I was a kid, I had a friend whose brother was autistic, and he was nonverbal for most of our childhood, but he was a savant in mathematics, and I never knew him. Like eventually he did gain verbal skills and learn to express himself a little bit, but the most I ever saw, because I was a little older than him, and so when I went away to college, he had just like accessed this kind of machine where he could type things out and it would say what he wanted to say.
Oh wow!
And so I was thinking about him, Mikey, when I wrote this character. Rhonda is much more verbal than he was, but she is still neuroatypical. She has a lot of trouble. Kind of mechanical things make a lot more sense to her than emotional things. And that was I tried to have, like, all the illustrators are from all over the world. The characters are from all over the world. They're old, they're young. Some of them are very brash and confident. Some of them are very shy. Some of them are into science. Some of them are into sports. And I tried to really have this diverse and varied energy within the characters, within the genres and the styles. And like you said, some of them feel maybe very different. Some of the stories feel very different from each other. But I think hopefully throughout all of them, it's exciting and funny. And that's kind of the thing that ties them all together. Yeah.
I really like Rhonda. In the very back of your book, well, Rhonda makes ice cream, right? She makes it based on an old recipe from her mom. And in the back of your book, you give a very simple, kind of ice cream making recipe. I just want to tell you a quick story about that. Is that one time—
Did you do it?
I haven't done it yet. I'm a little afraid to. A friend of mine, he had a kid brother, and when they were both in middle school, somebody came to school and showed them how to make ice cream, and then, stirred it up, let the kids taste it. And then that night, my friend was doing like a fake radio broadcast with his best friend. And the younger brother had tried to remember the recipe for the ice cream, but like got it wrong and, substituted the wrong thing for the wrong thing, and might have used salt instead of sugar or something like that. But
oh gosh,
my friend was doing this fake radio broadcast, and all of a sudden he says, like, Danny, what are you doing in here? And he's like, Danny, oh God. And like Danny throws up on the microphone. And so as soon as he started talking about like making ice cream in a plastic bag, it made me think of this story that I heard.
So
did you ever try?
I hope it goes better for the people that try it at home.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple recipe, but what's fun about it is you don't need a machine to do it. You can just like use salt and ice and basically manpower or like physical labor to freeze the cream.
Yeah. And
it does help. I will say, I think I said this in the book, but it helps to have a friend and it helps to have gloves. But it's a really simple recipe. You just need a big Ziploc bag and a somewhat smaller Ziploc bag and a lot of ice and salt.
Yeah, I might have to try it. I'm a little bit scared. One of the things I noticed I picked up on while I was reading the book is that there are some commonalities between the stories. You call them wormholes. stories, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to give any away really
Okay.
because the kids have to discover them on their own. But I am going to ask you about one.
Okay.
You create these kind of icons, right? In often
Yes.
at home, right?
Yes.
Hopefully, I'm not giving too much away, but
No.
I'm
That's
not.
a clue.
I'm not sure what the first one is. I'm not going to ask because I want kids to get it. I got the second one, the third one, and the fourth one, and the sixth one, but I don't know what the fifth one is, and I think you have to tell me.
Okay. It's sweet potato.
I should have picked up on that.
It's sweet potato. The first one, I'm not going to give it away for everybody else, but the first one is fa 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 better. Think of the name of that and the literal interpretation. It's a very literal interpretation.
Yeah.
What's weird about
that? Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
So, a lot of those snuck in by accident. I don't know if this happens to you, but sometimes, like, for whatever reason, like, I submitted the stories to the editor, and it's funny, the sweet potato is the one that we're talking about because that was the one I didn't realize. I sent the first draft to the editor, and she was like, "I love the story." She gave me all this feedback, and then one of the questions was, "So what's with sweet potatoes?" And I didn't even realize. I was like, "What do you mean? What's with sweet potatoes?" She's like, "It's in almost every story." And I don't know how that snuck in, but it was somewhere in my subconscious. It just kind of came out in these stories. And there were some other ones that happened once or twice or maybe even 3 times.
Yeah.
And I just decided, okay, I'm going to do this on purpose and have a couple of little Easter eggs for people to find. And some of the Easter eggs are kind of like illustrated on the cover. There's these little icons that are hiding in the background. It's a little easier to see them on the envelope because it's white. It's like gray on white.
Yes.
But all of those little icons are Easter eggs that reference the stories or sometimes reference the secret things in the stories.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. And, it is fun as kids to kind of pick up on those things, those little details. I'm going to ask you one more question before we try and experiment to pull in a kid or two.
Cool.
My question is, let's see, I have so many questions I want to ask.
By the way, this is an incredibly thoroughly researched interview, probably the most well-informed.
Oh, you know what? We're not
you can tell you really read the book. A lot of people are like, yeah, it's good. I like it, but they didn't actually.
We're not even going to get to half of my questions. One of the things that your stories have in common, and I don't know if this is on purpose or not, but in a number of places, the kids eat so much ice cream that they get sick, right?
Yeah.
Is there any food that you've ever eaten where you knew you were going to get sick, but it was so worth it you had to do it anyway?
Yes. Yeah. One time I was in Buffalo and we went to this place. It wasn't the Anchor Bar, but we went to this place that was famous for buffalo wings.
Yeah.
And we ate so many buffalo wings and we just kept getting braver and braver because they have all these levels of buffalo wings, from sweet to kind of spicy to like, they're like, don't eat this. It's not technically food. And we kind of climbed the ladder a little too high. And I knew I was going to regret it. And I knew there were going to be consequences, but it was just me and my friend. We were in this kind of macho, got to finish it, at least one of them. And then they turned it into a show years later called
the Hot Ones,
which is a great show.
That's hilarious. There's a pizza in Maryland called Lido Pizza. And I know that after 23 pieces, I will get sick. But I'm like, worth it, because it doesn't kick in until I'm done, like I'm past it, but it's always worth it. I guarantee you it's worth it. There was one time I had Sour Patch Kids for the first time, and it was like a 1 pound bag, right? And I ate them and I couldn't stop eating them. And then like, I couldn't stop because it felt like it would be painful if I stopped. And to this day, even right now, this just happened to me, talking about Sour Patch Kids, my mouth will fill up with saliva as a defense mechanism against Sour Patch Kids.
Oh gosh.
So
are you a big candy guy? Do you eat a lot of candy?
I don't eat a ton these days. Definitely back in the day, I was a big candy guy. And how about you? Do you have a favorite?
I like chocolate better.
Like quality chocolate.
I guess I'm not much of a sweets guy.
Yeah.
I do like donuts, fresh donuts.
Yeah. That's cool. There's a website called Goldbelly that sends like donuts and stuff from different places, from Chicago or whatever. And so we've been doing that, which is really a little plug for Goldbelly. If you want to send me free stuff, please do. All right. So we're going to do something, Kim, how about if we get a little dangerous here? take the best question that we have and try to pull that kid in. All right.
Yeah, let's get a kid in here.
This is always a bad idea.
Okay.
Because
It's a bad idea.
You never know what's going to
Oh, okay.
Chaos never hurt anyone. Right?
Maybe tonight. Maybe tonight.
You know
right.
if it's a little scary.
Okay, Adam's going to tell a story. Kim, you're going to invite somebody in.
Okay.
Any kid out there, we might even pull in two at once. So the kid might have to listen to Adam's story while on screen. Go for it.
You want me to read part of the story? Is that what you're saying?
No, you were going to tell us.
Oh, I was just saying it's good. It's good if things are exciting but a little scary. You know, you're going in the right direction.
Living on the edge.
Whoa, you're on camera.
He's ready.
Yeah. God.
This is Henry.
Hey, Henry.
What's up, Henry?
I'm on.
Yeah, you're on, man.
High five.
Yeah, we could do high fives. All right,
What's
Henry.
up, dude?
Yes, we can.
What's up?
Henry.
I love your secret pizza party book.
Oh yeah,
That's really cool, man.
that's cool, man.
Henry, can I ask you, what do you like about that story? Why that one?
Yeah. Well, I love my own parody.
Oh, really? What did
You had your own party?
Yeah,
Parody.
but it was like my dog having a pizza party with his friends.
Did you actually feed the dog pizza?
Oh, I love that.
He ate him himself.
He did eat pizza. Well, that's probably a very happy dog.
I love it, Henry. That's really cool. All right, Henry, we're going to say goodbye. We're going to bring in another kid. It's very nice seeing your face. And I hope you've enjoyed this.
Excellent. It's good to see you, Henry.
Yeah.
Bye, bud.
See you later, Henry.
All right.
All
Bye,
right.
Henry.
Who else is on deck?
He has Henry. So I invited Sienna, and hopefully Sienna will be coming on screen. Yep, she should be on any minute. She had a couple questions.
What's up, Sienna?
Nothing. I just wanted to ask you a question. What's your favorite book?
My favorite book? Now, do you mean like my favorite book of all time? My favorite book that I would recommend you read? My favorite book that I wrote?
Of all time.
I think my favorite book of all time is a book called The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, which won the Pulitzer Prize probably before you were born.
Oh.
But it's such a cool book, and it's a little long.
He's got it.
It's a little long.
Wow.
Wow.
I think this is a signed copy, not to brag, but maybe it's not. But either way, it's a really cool book. It's about two friends that grow up in New York City, and one of them basically invents Superman, the comic book.
Oh, wow.
And the other one is a professional magician.
Wow.
And they both have to escape the Holocaust.
Oh, okay.
So it goes over a long period of time, and I'm probably confusing some of the plot points, but it's such a beautifully written book, and it's exciting and funny, and I love that the author captures this era of New York City that happened way before I was born.
Okay.
All right, Sienna, I have a question for you. Why do you have an album cover maybe of the Notorious B.I.G. and then is that Meatloaf above you? I'm dying to know.
Or is that Morrissey?
Mike Patton.
Mike Patton.
Meatloaf eating a popsicle.
I love it.
Thank you very much. It's nice to
That
meet
is
you.
awesome.
Again. All right,
Thanks,
we have
Sienna.
another young lady here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
Is this Emma?
Yes. Hi.
Hello.
What is your favorite character and why?
My favorite character, like from a movie or in this book in particular?
Any of your books.
In any of my books. Well, I have a soft spot for Old Man Fuquire from the Those Darn Squirrels books because he's just like this lovable grump, and it feels like, you know how if a dog likes you, it's not that impressive, but if a cat likes you, you're kind of like, oh, I must have done something good that this cat actually likes me. And Old Man Fuquire is sort of like that. I feel like if you could be his friend, if you could win him over, then it would be a big compliment that he would even smile, even a little bit.
That's great. That's a great question. Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Kim, let's try one more. How about
Okay,
that?
we're going to try one more.
This has gone
Okay.
better than expected.
We're
You
doing
never
pretty
know.
good.
You never know.
Okay. I'm going to invite Molly on screen. Here we
All
go.
right.
Molly. We have very short questions they've been asking.
Yeah.
Okay, look at this. We are doing good.
Can you,
All right, we should have Molly on screen
Adam, as
momentarily.
your last question, can you read The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay for us from beginning to end?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much.
There is a passage that if I could find it, I would happily read about the Demon Wonder Box. And the character is going to Tannen's Magic Shop in New York City, which is a real place that still exists, though it's hidden. You have to find it.
Wow.
And the character is going to get this trick that he's read about called the Ultimate Demon Wonder Box. And it just does these amazing things you couldn't possibly believe. And it's about his excitement in going to the shop.
That is really cool. I think I'm going to read that book. Maybe I'll listen to it on audio.
Yeah, it's great. It really is great. Another, not necessarily a kid read, and this one is signed. This book is excellent. I loved this book.
Okay.
It just came out maybe this year.
Isn't that the best book? Oh my God. I love that book.
Wow.
Well, it's no
It's
diary.
crazy
of a
awesome.
kid, but, you know.
No, clearly not.
And no pictures either.
And by the way, no pictures.
Right, exactly.
No
It's wonderful.
pictures.
All right, Adam, I think that we are out of time. I want to say thank you so much to you. You're a great sport doing this interview tonight. And I wanted to thank everybody that showed up. It looks like somebody's coming in late to ask the very last question. All right, and who is
Last
this?
question.
Lila.
Hi.
Hi.
What's up, Lila?
Do you agree that the book is always better than the movie?
Good question.
95% of the time, yes. But I thought The Prestige was better than the book, and The Shawshank Redemption too.
There we go. That's a great great answer. And you probably should wait a little while
That
before you
is.
see either one of those movies.
I should have thought of that.
Awesome. Thanks, Lila. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Adam. You were a great guest, and we
Awesome.
can't wait to have you back here at An Unlikely Story. And now
I
Thanks,
can't
Adam.
wait to come in person. And I really, thank you so much for having me. This feels like a real thing. It's not like it's just a Zoom meeting. You guys are really there, and all these wonderful people tuning in. So it's hard when you work on something for a long time. And Jeff, like the book comes out, and usually you go and see a bunch of people and you say, hey, look, I made this thing. I look how it's real.
Yeah.
It's harder to do that now. So this helps so much in feeling just like, hey, it's out in the world. And that means a lot to me. So thank you.
That's cool. And Kim's going to tell you how to get it.
Yes. So everyone, here it is. Ice cream machine. Click on the green box right underneath. Well, on my screen, Jeff is in the middle, but whoever's in the middle. And yes, and Adam has signed book plates. He's been signing away, mailed them to us, and you will get one when you order from us. Awesome. We
Thank
can't
you
wait to see
again.
you in person, Adam.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right. Take care and bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Everyone. Bye. Oops. And here we go.